speak when
Yes, indeed, of course, I press a good night to all and sundry, East, West, South, South, Central, or Present Tobago. Yes, indeed, of course, I press a good night to all and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, I press a good day to you. Yes, indeed, of course. I had a little relapse of what transpired last night, you know, because, of course, last night would have been my Sabbatal, and therefore, of course, I would have been in a mood that, of course, would be not just celebratory, not just, of course, sort of easing some stress. But of course, it was in an environment where you have to feel, of course, elated. You have to feel the adrenaline going. And of course, you have to take a sweat, so to speak, some people say, as well as, of course, making sure that the mental strain, stress that you would normally have during the week would, of course, be well, reduced, if not eliminated. Let me just make sure I'm hearing another. So let me just make sure that we don't have a double whammy there. Yes. All right. So I got it fixed. Yes, indeed. So people, what has happened over the last couple of days? Of course, yesterday was a holiday, and of course, we will, of course, look at the position of the labor movement. We have heard one or two little, what I consider to be ripples, but ripple of a positive nature. You know, you have negative comments and positive comments. You have, of course, positive motivation and negative motivations. Yeah. You have, of course, persons who may be saying something that may sound negative, but they mean, of course, something positive. It is called, of course, constructive criticism. Because I don't want anybody to believe that what Anisette had to say was in any way intended to be facetious, intended to be malicious, intended to be retrogressive, intended to be, of course, avoiding the responsibility that the trade union movement, by and large, not all of them, would have taken on in order, of course, to improve the circumstances, having regard to what the PNM would have done whilst they were in government prior to the 28th of April, in any way, to believe that somehow there is a reneging or somehow there is apprehension. As I said, there are positive criticisms and there are negative criticisms. But of course, what Anisette had to say in that, he made certain observations about boards and those persons who would have been a part of those boards that would have been, of course, initiated by the present administration. By and large, the UNC, since, of course, the rest of us were invited, but at the same time, we were invited because we, by default, would have had a contribution to make to, of course, the present government being what it is today. And therefore, it will be almost impossible, not that it cannot happen, but it's almost impossible that those who would have equally taken the risk to dethrone or to put more succinctly and more analytically and more pragmatically the removal of the PNM from government on the 28th of April 2025, this year. It's very important that we do that. You see, because we remember, and I remember very distinctly, and I'm sure you would as well, that when there is some kind of constructive criticism, the PNM makes it look as though there is some kind of division, some kind of fragmentation, some kind of wedge, and of course exploit it for its political, what I consider to be value for them, political value for them. I notice these days that they ain't talking, but they're wishing. These days, they ain't talking about the wishing. And what I mean by these days is that, of course, we know that on the 28th, about 6 weeks ago, we heard Al-Rari and we criticized that, and we of course extrapolated that to almost the hilt, almost to the zenith. When, of course, he wished for the collapse of the government in 12 months. And then, of course, he went on to talk about, of course, that there would be wishful thinking, of course, that the government is engaged in massive retrenchment and therefore reinforcing, of course, his rationale, idiotic as it was and is, idiotic, let me repeat, idiotic as it was and is. Who waited for 10 years to be in government, get 26 seats in the tails, and would give up government? That is wishful thinking. That is, of course, the thinking of someone who obviously, I understand now, spent 10 years to do, of course, a 4-year program and got, of course, his law degree. So you understand why he was such a failure in the office of the Attorney General. I don't know what the PNM, and that is why if you look on Facebook, you would see that I've been making the statements that, of course, the PNM has dug deep, and of course, so deep, but still they have not been able, of course, to produce the talent that is required to manage the affairs of Trinidad and Tobago in contemporary times, and therefore we know, according to the present, of course, leader of the opposition and the of course, to be anointed leader of the PNM, they have lost their way. They have lost their way. So she was not joking. And when, of course, she was challenged, talking about Penelope Beckles, she doubled down, she reiterated, she regurgitated, she echoed that sentiment, that position that she would have taken. You see, sometimes, as I always say, who the gods wish to destroy, they first send them mad. And therefore, they speak the truth at times. In some instances, of course, as in the case of Rowley, it's always, of course, a case of self-righteous indignation. So somebody might make a a mistake, whether it's a Freudian slip or otherwise, he would, of course, capitalize on it and, of course, divert it to his political agenda, always pernicious. So when, of course, he was called, of course, a man, that some time ago, and the description was a fake man or something like that. Words to that effect. He pounced on it. Just as how he pounced on a grocery list, grocery items that included, of course, a hand of dried fig, bananas. And he then say and converted that to, of course, somebody humiliating him. And he extended it, of course, to all Africans in this country by saying that he ain't no monkey. He ain't no monkey. And that, of course, that was an insult inside of a basket of goods. The UNC, of course, projecting and demonstrating their altruistic nature, their magnanimity, their people-centered approach to, of course, development in Trinidad and Tobago. Rowley converted that to saying that it has racial connotations, and was, of course, appealing as a consequence, Rowley, to our tribal instinct. And so Labre got caught, Point Fortin got caught, not Tobago, but Point Fortin got caught, Labre got caught, and the result, of course, of the 2020 general elections reflected that. Because I was always of the view, and is always of the view, how the hell a fellow who is detrimental to you, a group of individuals who have been, of course, undermining your very sustainability and the means of sustaining yourself to put food on the table, are talking about, of course, the 65,000 persons as a consequence of the closure of Petrotrin, and those persons who were plunged into the trauma and the agony and the pain, especially if they were in their prime, of course, years to give more to society and therefore be part of the workforce in this country. And then, of course, suddenly you are unable to pay your mortgage. You are unable to pay for your children wherewithal and going to school, and, of course, uniform, books, etc. You are unable to pay for that motor car that you may have just about a year again, or a couple of months to, of course, complete payment because you took it on hire purchase. That is what Rowley did to these people, and in 2020 they voted for the, in other words, the PNM won the election. Let me put it that way, because I have to be careful here. The PNM won the election because we have a first past the post system that says the person who get the majority, well, of course, they win. It's the Westminster system of government, or should I say, of elections that we have practiced and continue, of course, to practice in this country. But they won. They ought not to have, but they won. But come 2025, 28th of April, I wanted to see, and I was saying all the time that, of course, it's 39 seats that Trinidad should, of course, produce for the UNC and the coalition of interest. 39, all 39. All 39, because that issue was also part and parcel of the matrix or the collective or the, what I would consider to be the accumulation of reasons why the PNM must be jettisoned from the politics of the country and be given, of course, a death knell or sign their death warrant, or indeed, I'm talking here about political death. Why is in 2020 it did not happen? Time longer than twine. And so in 2025, as some people would say, all unfair games must be played over. Well, the electoral cycle and therefore politics in Trinidad and Tobago and of course other parts of the world is such that you have a cycle, and then of course the opportunity comes again to choose a government. And on the 28th of April, the people dealt a stunning blow to the PNM, so much so that it can't recover. And what we have seen is the underbelly, the soft underbelly, the hollow underbelly of the PNM. Because all that time they were saying, listen, they are a solid party, they are a party of unison, they are a party, of course, of resilience, they are a party of don't, of course, discuss or disclose their dirty linens, of course, verbally, not literally, so I'm talking figuratively here, in public. Well, Camille Robinson Regis, of all persons, start a ball. Look in today's papers in The Guardian. She says, stop it. Why all that nastiness? And of course, the designated political leader, Penelope Beckles, on the same, of course, what I could say, trajectory, as far as, of course, asking those persons from within who they say should know better and aspiring, of course, for leadership in the party and the rank and file and others. They have started, of course, to engage in what is called internecine conflict, internecine recriminations, internecine excoriating statements as they, of course, struggle and fight for the remnants that is the PNM, the remnants of the PNM. Don't matter who succeeds in that epic battle for the spoils, or should I say, the remains of the PNM, I wish them well, because it will only be, of course, putrid material. It will be rotten material. It will be not badly wounded, but the cadaver. Yeah. The skeleton or the skeletal remains of the PNM they will be fighting for. Let us not waste time. And therefore, in those circumstances, we have to, of course, give credit to Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the UNC, the coalition of interests, for doing what they did to get rid of these elements that were fake, false, and pretended that they were unified, when in fact they were waiting for opportunities as the opportunities and political parasites that they turned out to be and are. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox. It was a long wait.
Yes, yes,
Trying
yes,
to
yes.
find you. Yes,
Yes.
Lennox.
Hey.
So much has been happening.
Yes, yes, yes.
But Lennox, let
Hey.
me deal with hypocrite Camille first.
Go ahead, man.
They're washing all their bedding, all their bedding, all their dirty bedding, all the soil bedding,
Yes,
all
yes,
their
yes.
faces bedding in public now.
Yes,
It's
man.
good for them. Yeah, their nose was all up in UNC business, internal business. But Weak Belly Penny telling Padaro to stay out of PNM business. No. All you didn't stay out of UNC own, and it's public knowledge now. But you know what? Handbag money ball mati. Ha no shame. She coming to say that she never bad talk Rowley at the internals when she was the front runner for Manning. She's lying. Lennox, we found the tape with her bad talking Rowley. That he's unfit for office. He has no plans, no policies. He's vulgar. And we share it. We share it. We passing it around.
I wanted to know
But
when
everybody
and how
can hear
soon.
her.
Yes, send a copy for me, please, because I have it, but you will avoid me having to search for it because I have it in my archives. But go ahead.
Not a problem, Lennox. I will
Yes.
sell it for you. Right? Look at about bacchanal going on where they're internals.
Yeah, boy. Oh,
They
wow.
want to put it off. They have this list and that list. You see, Lennox, when you like to dig hole for people and you don't fill it back up, your backside is falling in.
Yes, yes, yes. Sir. Oh, what
And it
a
is hard.
what a tangle web we weave when we first set out to
when we
deceive.
first started deceive.
Yes,
That's
man.
right, Lennox.
Yes, man.
And let us go back to Parliament now on Friday.
Go ahead, by all means.
Well, dead horse, Weak Belly Penny finds your voice. I'm talking about it's not everything you have to talk about, but you didn't talk for 5 years. That's why Kamala tell her that. You didn't talk for 5 years. You had nothing to say what was going on with the children of this country. And you come out to question you, woman? Penelope Beckles have no shame. And coming to tell Barry that you want to be a prime minister, but you cannot. Look, it's 14 of them you have as opposition leader. 14 of them, because you didn't have a voice. And you fighting to be a prime minister too? But you see, Lennox, when they had the internals in 2013, Marlene and Camille Bolmati,
yes.
give Penny God. They told her she was weak. She's not no glue to hold anything together. And they reminded her of a failure in the Senate. That's why Rowley had to fire from the Senate. And Penny want to come play. She talking about people now. And let me tell you something, Lennox. You see, well, you heard for yourself, right? The amount of money that was paid out to these lawyers, these PNM lawyers.
Oh, yes, yes,
And
yes, yes.
Lennox did not win a case. At least Anand Ram Logan was paying his lawyers, but they won cases. They won with the BAE. They got back money for the OPV and all this kind of thing. They never won a case. Right? And you see, the speaker has to be a little more assertive with the nasty crosstalk with Stuart Young and somebody else that was saying some nastiness inside of you.
Yeah, because
Right?
I mean,
They have
all
no
of us heard when Stuart Young said that the Attorney General, the current Attorney General, is a dunce.
It's a dance.
Yes, and then of
Yes,
course
he
there
had
was
a
some
right.
other very what I consider to be obscene expression. This expression obscene, not obscene language, but certainly something that was considered to be
But you
unacceptable.
see,
Go ahead.
he feel, he has something against George Jeremy, right?
Yes.
Right? So, he feel that he could tell him man what he want, but that's why when George Jeremy stood up now, he
Yes,
put
yes.
him in his place. He put him in his place, right? But what I find the speaker should have done is to pull the tape and see where he disrespected the man and make him apologize, right? the next one, Brian Manning getting on like the laughing Buddha. You see how they catch him lying in the parliament?
Cool, so much time that man had to say, I renege. I say that he was renegger, and I'm saying that as a sobriquet for a Calypsonian, because he was talking a set of nonsense, of course, misrepresenting, as well as, of course, being suddenly finding his voice, but of course, alas, talking nonsense as per usual. But go ahead.
And Lennox, he lied and said that he have information that they dip in their hand in the HSF. So what? And only dip all your hand in it, or they didn't put in any, and only dip all your hands in it. Imbert was the one that said that is not here for show. So if they put their hands in it, that's their business. That's none of yours.
So true, so true.
To talk about who doing this and who doing that and who doing the other. I'm talking about 10, they would have gotten 10 billion if they had left the TTRA. How he know that? He have proof of that? But you see, let them continue. Let all of them with their lies, we can figure it out, you know. And Lennox, I am asking you, please. We heard Dolly saying that the PNM built 21 schools. I'm asking you, please, to help us find the schools now. We need a Google map to find the schools.
I certainly will take on that responsibility.
The benefit of the doubt that they built 21 schools. You hear? We want to find out where these schools are. And the next thing, before I leave Lennox, all who laughing at Roger Alexander do better than them. This was his maiden speech. But like there was a hearing when Marvin Gonzalez was talking, when Sukai was talking in the Senate, right? When imagine our own former Minister of Health didn't know what was the watchword and what was the discipline, production, and tolerance. But they're laughing at Roger Alexander. These people are no shame, you know, they really not nothing to laugh at. And Lennox, I'll send you that too. We found a tape and we sent it out with all the four power with all of them. And the biggest one was with Hines. Then you say how Hines used to talk, but Marvin Gonzalez have no shame because he was one that said that he didn't know that leaks was causing water to stop the water flow.
Water pressure. He didn't know that.
Man in no shame, but
that leaks would prevent water pressure from reaching a hilltop.
Lennox, it was so nice chatting with you.
Yes, man.
You know, Thank you very much. So much to catch up on.
Yes. Well, formulate your thoughts, and come right back in. Formulate your thoughts, come right back in.
And I'll send the tapes for you.
All right, okay then, yes. But formulate your thoughts.
Have a good night.
Yes, same to you. But I hope it's not the final moment for tonight. Formulate your thoughts and come right back in. You will be welcome. That was, of course, our external correspondent, Mr. Santa Cruz. Professor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Professor Lennox. This is Diego Martin in the house.
Yes, man. Good night to you as well, my friend.
Two issues I'm going to talk about.
Go ahead.
One is the short man, the Dwayne Parliament. He avoided the privileged committee with his utterances. No, I do some investigation with that case. Rohani Ramkissoon versus Minister of Finance. She won in the lower court, right? And Colin Imbert basically threw his lawyers under the bus, saying that they didn't inform him and he wasn't aware that the appeal was thrown out. Now, he didn't mention who is the lawyers there.
All right.
Because I have a position that is taxpayers' money, and it might be Ita Food lawyers who are nilly-willy and not honoring what they have to do, represent their client, that is Minister of Finance and Colin, because the fine, he ain't paying it out of his pocket. is the state will pay it, right?
Right.
The lower court, the firm that was representing him is M. Daly and Company.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too sure if they were representing him in the appeal, because that is sloppy representation, and I am agitating for that firm and that lawyer. I'm not too sure if it's M. Daly and Company or is a new firm he take for his appeal. That doesn't necessarily happen. He didn't call it out. But going on what I've seen, you have to blacklist those firms, those eater food firms, from the vendor list for attorneys represented. Too many times, files missing, all kind of thing happening, and we giving out. I hope the current AG do what is required, investigate them, and bring them before the court. That's one issue. But the second issue, I want to basically highlight to the country, natural justice has to be served. I saw where the descendant of a gentleman who died in Tunapuna and left his whole estate to a charity organization / the Roman Catholic. And the Roman Catholic people, and by extension the children who was basically contested the will, went to the Privy Council, and the Privy Council ruled that the church is the natural for everything, and the will was right.
Okay.
I am saying, I am sure that gentleman, if he could use the Milan Massey protocol, I'm sure he will tell his children he apologized and he's ashamed for what he did. And I'm hoping the church, the religious institution, and it appears that the RC Church, to see what natural justice is and share the will and the man's belongings, his estate, with his children. Because I'm sure if he's looking down, he will basically ask for forgiveness for doing such. I think is a heinous, even though the children might have treated him poorly, badly, I'm sure you would have forgiven them. And if you could forgive somebody and you're true to the Lord, you know you are forgiven.
Yes.
You probably didn't have the time. And you know some of these religious institutions, when you're close to the great beyond, they use psychological pressure on you to get your belongings. Not only them, some of the people in the legal fraternity. So I'm making this call for the church and that charitable institution which is aligned with Roman Catholic to share the man's estate with his daughters. God.
Yes, man. Yes, man. Yes, man. Well, people, of course, very, very, very interesting developments there. But I thought that was a very humane and a social interest matter. And I too, whilst I am not familiar with that matter at all, except, of course, I take and I don't normally, of course, check the veracity of what that particular caller says, because I know that he's well researched. So I think I could take the liberty and, of course, the opportunity to, of course, call on the church as well, whosoever the head of that church is, to, of course, do the right thing and share the property with, of course, the offspring of the deceased, in spite of the deceased's, of course, wishes. I think it is morally right. It is, of course, steeped in ethics, and, of course, it is spiritual and religious, and, of course, Christian so to do. To do otherwise I would have to say one has to cry shame on such a religious entity that would have shown some heartlessness, particularly if the circumstances of the beneficiary, as we are requesting and beseeching, has some financial or social challenges. In other words, challenges that requires some kind of financial resources, which of course the estate of the deceased would have. Now I don't know the essence, as I said, except of course what the caller said, but the kind of person I am, I believe that I am obligated to make an intervention. That being as it may, let us look at what transpired in Parliament. I think it was couched in a lot of intrigue, a lot of hullabaloo, a lot of theatrics, and of course I talk about comical theatrics I'm talking about. And of course, misrepresentation, disinformation, and clearly, you know, I love to use that term because I think it is so appropriate for persons, especially on the opposition bench, where they exhibit manic depressive psychosis, because they seem to be totally and spontaneously in a perpetual state of illusion, delusions. Let us get down to the nitty-gritty of this matter. The Manning that is in the Parliament, I'll talk about Brian Manning. We heard, of course, from Dolly, the former Minister of Education. Who again we heard from? We heard from Penelope Beckles. We heard from, very short, and maybe in a different sphere, but not speaking to generally the media budget presentation, or put another way, media budget debate. But nonetheless, there are some commonalities that we can, of course, now, without fear of contradiction, identify and associate these people, all of them collectively and individually, with. You see, the first thing that you would observe, especially if you are unaware of the antecedent of the history, you would be of the view that the added monies that was to be ratified, coming out, of course, of the detailed explanation from the Finance Standing Committee of the Parliament, you would be amazed when you hear these people speak as if they had nothing to do with the original budget. Let me repeat. These people spoke as though they had nothing to do with the original budget. In other words, people, I am telling you, do not be in any way confused. Because they gave you the impression, and that is why on many occasions when Rowley and others speak, they speak in silo, as if one does not have a nexus or connection to the other. Because that is how they speak. So in other words, let me just give you one example before, of course, I go back to what transpired on Friday. Was it Friday or Wednesday? Whatever day it was. The fact of the matter is, yes, on Wednesday. The fact of the matter is that Rowley will tell us subsidies, they're going to reduce, increasing, of course, the cost of everything. food, shelter, clothing, anything associated with it, everything. Because transportation is, of course, a cost that you have to budget for. Whilst, of course, you are engaging in business and you pass on that to the consumer. The increased price, you pass it on to the consumer, the person who ultimately utilizes the good or the service. And then they will come in quick session, of course, and talk about property tax. And then talk about, of course, in the same breath, talk about courier tax. When you have to bring in something to the country, having, of course, a purchaser, if you're lucky to get foreign exchange, you have to pay a courier tax. I'm saying all this to say that they don't care whether the increase is coming from the same source. So you are, in other words, you are a wage earner. So you're making $10 a week, let me put it that way. And they would, of course, talk about property tax as if it has nothing to do with you being able to pay, or it coming out from the same source of money, that $10. And then they will come and talk about, of course, increasing electricity. They will talk about reduced subsidy. They will talk about the courier tax, etc. Not recognizing, it appears oblivious that there is a nexus among all of those taxes that you put, because it is coming from a common source, and that is to say, it is impacting on the $10 that you are making a week. That is how they thought. Total inhumane. And all of it is designed to, of course, cover up and to, of course, get deep into your pockets, because they have mismanaged that which they met. Incidentally, I want to tell you that one of them were talking about, of course, and was claiming that the economy is well, and that the present finance minister was talking ironic, was talking contrary, because he was saying that the economy was in shambles. I think it was Brian Manning, and then Brian Manning went on to say, well, listen, how you could say that the economy is in shambles in one breath, and then you say that, of course, it have enough money there in reserves for, of course, 8 months of import. 8 months of import. Well, I want to say that I believe that would have been a slight flaw that the minister ought to have anticipated, that they would have been taking that asinine position. And therefore, I thought that what would have been important in order, of course, to neutralize that kind of irrationality, he should have put it inside of the presentation when he was saying that, of course, there's enough money there for 8 months of import. He should have said one time that in 2015, the PNM met enough money for 12 and more months of import. That's the only flaw I thought that I would comment upon in terms of the presentation. All in all, the talk about it lacks, of course, data and therefore figures. Hogwash. The same, of course, can be attributed to that of IMSBERT contribution, trying to say that it is devoid of figures. When the man, we're going to play some tonight, so you get an appreciation as to the multiple and the frequency of presented figures, and that the entire exercise was saturated, was riddled with figures, numbers. Well done, Tanku. Well done, Minister Tanku, Minister of Finance. But the point I was making is that when Brian Manning suggested that the economy was all right, because it was contradictory. The statement that there was 8 months of import, I think that should have been blocked. That should have been addressed. That should have been narrowed to such a point inside of Tanco's, of course, presentation to say, well, you know, they have 8 months today of imports in reserves, the equivalent, but they met, of course, in 2015, 12 months and counting of money there to, of course, of imports. That's where, because you see, doing that, you would have been able now to say in the presentation itself, 8 months. But somebody could have gotten up afterwards and say, 8 months, you Manning say that there was, of course, enough money for imports 8 months, and that is a healthy economy. And then, of course, such an individual who was responding to Manning would now be able to say, well, listen, you had 10 years and you did not expand the economy, you contracted it, waiting. 8 months is nothing. That is where I would have gone. Once again, I would have said that they met Rowley and they and the same fellow who could talk now, talking about Brian Manning. I would have said that listen, included in that is that they met 12 months of import, over $10 billion in import in the reserves. In the reserves, representing 12 and more months of import. That is the way the international standard, and that's the way, of course, it is defined. But then I would have had the added flexibility to say, when he come with the hogwash and the nonsense that 8 months represents a good economy, I would have said that of course, not only did you meet 12 months of import in 2015, but imagine you eat away at that $12 billion that was in reserve, and they bring it down to about 6 or 7 or 8, whatever figure that they end up with. And therefore, it reinforces the fact that the economy contracted. So you have no wiggling room to come and talk your hogwash about, of course, a good economy. That's the point I am making. But since, of course, they didn't do it, I am doing it tonight. I'm defending the government for, of course, the position that they would have taken. And if, of course, Brian Manning and they believe that the economy is good, then, of course, hand it back to the UNC, of course, which you, the people, recognize on the 28th of April. And that is why they are in government now. That is why we are in government now. And therefore, you have to tell us where the difference gone. Because you met 12 billion in US as reserve. And now, of course, you have something like about 6 billion in reserve. So you eat up half of the money that you met there. And when we tell you that the economy is in shambles, you have the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery, and what I consider to be the mental debilitation to tell us that it's healthy. Haul your tail. Haul your tail. So that's the only problem. But there are other issues that I want to raise as well, with respect, of course, to the response to the presentation of the government in the mid-year review. So the first is that they give you the impression that it is not, that they had nothing to do with it. But that time, it is, of course, additional monies that they had to, of course, look for through that process. Because, as Tanco rightly said, and he said it was deliberate, and I have no doubt in my mind, because They had to, of course, look for augmentation. They had to look for supplemental monies. It was deliberate that they budgeted to complete the 2025 fiscal year. So let us not waste time with them. 2024-25 fiscal year. But I want the people to understand that you must now recognize that it was their budget. And when Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the current Prime Minister, Honorable, came in and she was faced with the situation where at the end of the month, that the following month, following the election month, because the 28th, so therefore that is month end, they found themselves in a situation where they were over $4 billion in deficit, and of course, the exhaustion of the allocations for the year. In terms of the various ministries, there was no resource to, of course, carry on. So whether they were, I talk about the PNM here, were genuine in terms of their budgetary allocation. The argument, of course, of the present government is that they did it deliberately, and there's only one major reason why they would have deliberately done that: to under budget, to get it to the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Let's go to the lines. And when we come back, of course, we will expand on that area of the discussion. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello, good night. Yeah,
good night, my friend. Yes.
Yeah, San Fernando.
Go ahead, my friend.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
You must understand something here. Understand this. When I was given a scholarship to go to the University of the West Indies, right? The professor at the time, I got a scholarship to go to the University of the West Indies in the arts. Production and
yes, so let me just tell this caller. Caller, you know a bit of Mr. San Fernando on the line. All right?
Production and management was the course that I did in India. Mm-hmm. And you must understand something, you know. The professor said a word to us when doing accounts. Right? She used a word called chronological.
Yes.
No, when you hear the word chronological, that's a pretty long word, eh? Not so, and it sounds as though, you know, it's difficult to understand, but it's not difficult to understand.
Yeah, some people see it as chromosome and biological, but of course, it's a series of one after the next steps. Yes, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Chronological, no, you must understand something.
Yeah.
Chronological really means putting your books in order and being orderly.
Yeah.
Right? So it means to say she was teaching on how to do accounts. You must have expense and income. Right?
Yeah.
And a daily check on putting your books in order so that if you purchase something, if you purchase 10 items on one day, right, you can't mix it up. You can't mix up that with yesterday's items.
Right.
If you do that, you will be going out of order.
Right.
Right? So chronological really means putting your books in order. Now, some people, when they purchase items in a business, what they do is that you write, okay, I purchased 10 pounds of rice today, right? Tomorrow, right? They may put that they purchase sugar tomorrow, right? And they mix up the items. Now, what will happen when you mix it up and you don't order your books in terms of what even you spend and what what income you make when you sell items.
Yes.
Right? You will end up at a loss.
Yeah. Or
Right?
totally
so
confused.
It means to say what is going on in the parliament there with Brian Manning and apparently they don't understand the orderly fashion that was supposed to be taking place, probably with the Congress. I don't know whether they went to school or whatever, right?
Yes.
But they probably don't understand that. So there's a mix-up with their understanding what the finance minister is doing. You follow me, sir?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah. It's unfortunate though because he claims to be some kind of accountant or some kind of what I consider be quasi-economist, stopping short of saying, of course, that he's a charlatan, he's a quack. Right, but go ahead, this.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Hello? All right, it appears that we lost that caller. Oh, let me see if it's the phone boy. Nah, not the phone. Hello? All right, okay. Let's take the caller from Laventille. Go ahead, Laventille.
Yes, good night, Mr. Lennox. And
Good
good night
night
to everybody in the live.
Yes, man.
Mr. Lennox,
Hey.
listen now. This is the first time I see a government that's organized itself in such a way to become legal thief. Imagine them mash up a procurement legislation so they could thief legally. Imagine that.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, no, you are right, you know. You're right, because it's not by accident. I call them, of course, a criminal gang. They have morphed into a criminal enterprise. It's not by accident. But go ahead. I see Mr. Sanfernando like he didn't finish.
You know,
Mr.
I listened to Saddam Hussein.
Hold on. It appears that we got cut off. Hold on, Mr. Laventille is on the line. Go ahead, Mr. Laventille. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I listened to Mr. Saddam Hussein Friday the political channel.
Uh-huh.
And when I'm asked to call out name of lawyers and the kind of brief them men and them get, I say, oh God, boy, you're wicked. I say, oh, they have to be wicked. And you know, when he started talk about the Gulf City and the Gulfriend partners and all the millions and millions, Lennox, these people they get locked up, you know.
Yeah, of course.
These people have to get locked up.
Blue lights and silver bracelet, according to Rowley.
Yes, boy, that is wickedness. Listen now, my grandfather, see Dolly, Gatsby Dolly. I'm sorry to say this, you know, but he call your man a jagabat because you was misbehaving so bad in the parliament. He said, but this woman, you know how old people as a parent now.
Yes.
And then I get to understand what that means, you know. I say, oh Lord. I say, wait, back in the days,
you saw it in motion? You saw it in motion?
Green corner. He said, talk about green corner or some kind of thing like that.
Oh, yeah.
I say, wait, he said, well, anyway, give me the history after, but I don't want to talk about anything over the air.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
I say, oh my God. I say, but she really behaved bad in shooter. She talk about 21 schools she built, PNM Bell.
Yeah.
I want to see the 21 schools because I know them in build no schools because they mash up the educational system.
Yes.
Anyway, look, Mr. Lennox, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank
you very much. But I'm sure that the person who observed that was watching at her demeanor, her body language, and so on, and her facial expressions. It shows a level of stupidity that, of course, I never thought was possible in the parliament of this country. But let's go to the line again. Go ahead, Mr. San Fernando. Sorry about that. We got cut off. Mr. San Fernando? Let me see if I did something wrong there. Sorry about that. All right, go ahead now. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you hear me?
Yeah. You're making a point. Sorry about that. Just had a little technical issue there.
Yeah, I was making the point on the term of chronological.
Yes.
It is an order. So what I'm saying is that in terms, I don't know how it is Brian Manning and they could be so confused about the order of business because it may be that, I don't know, they were sleeping they were probably sleeping in the last parliament or some kind of thing. You know, I don't know. That is why they had nothing to do with the budget. So and probably too, Coleman and they were carrying on with all these kinds of shenanigans with the finances of Trinidad and Tobago. So clearly we would see a kind of stupidity going on within PNM.
I hear you.
So chronologically means just putting yourself in order. And what the present finance minister is doing or his team is doing is putting things in order so that we don't confuse things. So Brian Manning is just in a confused state. You understand what
I hear you. I hear. Yeah, that was too high for them. It was not intellectually what I consider to be reachable, and so of course they had to display that what I consider to be nincompoopish analysis, and not recognizing at all times that it was the budget that they presented that was being augmented or supplemented as part of the supplementary discussions that would have naturally been undertaken in order to make available these added resources for the 2025 budget.
But also clearly you could actually see where the economy itself crashed, because if you look at the businesses that have closed down and have left Trinidad and Tobago, and some people are still reeling under the pressure, right? So that if the government now really attempts to, they have to find a way to bring that, bring back up businesses in Trinidad. They have to find a way. So the money has to be found to do it, because it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
Right? So they have to be creative. The government itself have to be creative and find ways to do it. Right?
Yeah. But thank you very much. Yeah. But of course, and they continuously ask where the money is coming from, and at the same time say where it is coming from. It's a kind of I wouldn't even call it an oxymoron, but it's a kind of contradictory mental state, where they would be saying, well, the money has to come from going into the Heritage and Conservation Fund. You have to borrow. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, no one has to say, to treat, of course, with the immediate situation, and to meet, of course, the expenditure that the government would, of necessity, have to endure or encounter. But, of course, while that is happening, you are going to, of course, look at ways and means of expanding the economy through, of course, various areas, whether it be agriculture, whether it be tourism, whether it be some unique situation, as well as the sale or the disposal of assets, etc., in order, of course, to continue. So, in other words, why is the grass is growing? Meaning that the economy is expanding or diversifying. The horse mustn't starve. The population cannot starve. So, therefore, that is common sense, and I find it very difficult that they harp on that, when in fact that's the case. But we will go to some other areas that I thought was fascinatingly stupid of them as well. I'm talking about Brian Manning and, of course, the opposition. You wouldn't believe, I'm sure that some of you would have observed what I'm going to say after this caller as well. Go ahead, caller. Mr. Faizabad.
Good evening to you, Uncle Lennox, and all your listeners.
Yes.
On the World Wide Web.
Yes.
That I will make my clarion call to all the listeners. We need the 40,000. And tell all the PNM that Uncle Lennox is bad talking them. Because tomorrow is the internal election. And they must get rid of Penny. And she slate once and for all, because those are the sufferers who bond together and was bird together, flock together, and was making other life miserable. It's time for a brand new voice in the PNM executive. And the lawyer team, I think they are very respected and upright citizens to lead the PNM, because no more BS from the bull when he dropped, because they are the set who had the executive for the last 10 years and suffer all your new, as I say, new blood, new thinkers, and people who really care to serve. So the PNM supporters, share the live. Let me know that we just battle all year and we need the 40,000. So we will take 3 bobs and 5 cents and all 2. So Uncle Lennox,
Hey.
tonight you hear my tone of voice.
Yes, man.
Because here what's going on. You see them 13 crap in the parliament?
Yeah.
From the left to the right?
Yes.
All of them. I would like to tell them this evening on your program that when you talk about a genius, a jackass, and a donkey, you disrespect Jesus Christ and the animal, what was privileged to carry his mother to Bethlehem to bring a savior to save the world. Right?
Yes.
So I doesn't like to use that animal quotation at all. So Brian Manning, I call him name, and I want all to put the record straight. You is in the Ministry of Finance, all to crash the economy. Where is the expenditure? All is just in April 28th, and they had to go back for $3 billion to finish all the budget of $56 billion. What all is spending it? Where all is spending it on? I want to ask a question to you, Uncle Lennox, now. Did you win by Mapo, or did you win by Great Wall in any casino and cut a deal, Uncle Lennox? Because the honest way money does disappear is when they play a mark by the lotto machine and they didn't win. They don't get no returns, but they just get a receipt. But you can't say that $56 billion, sorry, I'm going to slow down. $56 billion spent in the last 2 quarters of fiscal 2024 to 2025. And you telling me that today, the 18th of June, we need $3.6 billion as is to pay the debt that all you leave behind, the dwell, the afterbirth, the no good, and who like to sue people, who like when they talk out. But he know, and that's why they started the privilege committee, because he like to lie, but the evidence is there. Send a paper, so we'll get more answer, because here what's going on. You have to answer and stop contradicting yourself in the parliament, because people are wise and have sense. It's not the executive greedy belly and the people who already did educate and the 18,000 students that came out of school for the last 10 years adding up, that already give a work or care to educate them in this way. It have others through social media. They know about expenditure. Because if an oil is being exposed, and not only the grass is green, but the other word to go with grass, or it's exposed because you see that the demerit point was a lot of revenue owner. The TTRA was to come to get every single citizen who sell our water to pay tax. And then all the property tax, all they have $100 million boosted, where it gone? And all the play smart with foolishness? Send a paper. And one thing I want to say again, Uncle Lennox.
Go ahead.
You see, when you have a trade union leader that lead his members for the 10 years, and they didn't implement a 12% negotiation and pay it, And now we're talking about ethnicity and that they must pay and they must get everything and equality on state board. Where the mother, where your father count all the vegetables in Tobago, where all it was for the last 10 years, when improper and status and due diligence was given to equality to spread it across the board. You see, ungratefulness is something I don't like. And when all they try now to bully, to have all the way, they all will meet supporters like me talking out on a program that what Uncle Lennox Smith have available to talk issues. And this is my bread and butter, because the slave ship is looking for the executive to colonize their supporters again. Because in 10 years gone, the only thing all they could have talked about and still talk about is dragon, and Manti and Laura, that they can't get more gas, or they try again with the citizens. I talking as a citizen. Where is the NGL profit? How much money did you put as losses on NGC book? Where did Nike money? But you want to know where money will come from? You see Angostura, and you see all the First Citizen Bank where they were selling out, and Republic Bank, and Heritage, or they say how much billions did it get? So you see, for the quarter, we will still get a choo-choo from it. That's why the board want to go. So we have enough state enterprises that's bringing $1 on a day-to-day basis. So we will get money from them. That is why all the P&M stooge go from there, because all they're using psychology to say all they're being bullied and discriminated about. But when all they discriminate a whole nation, and the PNM only love for children is to see them dead. And the only time all they love workers is when all they stop 2 years of employment, promotion, and go contract, and had no filling of vacancy. And for the last 69 years, it showed that the PNM never wanted labor. And in 19th of June, I will tell all this something. That is the PNM-led administration that hunted down Churia Boss Butler. Have a pleasant good night, Uncle Lennox. And I will make this call again. People who voted tomorrow on the executive, vote the 3 lawyers and the lawyers. It's time for change. Have a pleasant good evening, everybody.
Well, of course, thank you very much. Of course, I want to slightly tonight disagree with my friend on two counts. One, I really don't care for the sustenance or the revamping or the rehabilitation or the cleansing or the absolving or the absolvement of the PNM consequential of whatever has to transpire tomorrow. No. I would like to see them totally annihilated. I would want to see them extinct. I would want to see them in the dustbin of political history because no matter who is there, I believe, and of course we have enough evidence to show that whosoever it is, because of that culture, because of that propensity, because of that proclivity, because of that idiosyncratic nature of the PNM that has evolved over the years. And of course, we have a standing monument to show, that is to say, the corruptly acquired Balize House, that I wouldn't want to see any iteration or any form, whatever form it is, of the PNM again in this country. I have some other things that I want to express that the caller spoke of that I'll slightly disagree with. But go ahead, my friend. Go ahead, my friend from Laventille. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Once more again, this is good last time. Mr. Lennox, listen now. you know, while looking at that parliament, Friday going there, right? You know, look at that there. You know, this Stuart Young, this man who is a miserable failure. The man failed at everything: national security, right? Minister energy, minister in minister of the prime minister, all them kind of thing. You're a miserable failure. You are one of the worst moderators and national security minister, right?
Yes.
You go watch a man like John Jeremy, right? And call him man a dunce. So you're not ashamed.
But stay right there.
You're not ashamed.
Stay right there. When
you know, like you didn't like how John Jeremy started to point out, and he was making it so clear as day, right? To let all the fellas know, hey, you see, Oli might be in this parliament today, but when I finish with Oli will be in another institution.
I am in war with you. I'm in war with you, and he pointed, and of course he pointed at someone who he would not be in war with. I think that was a tremendous gesture and a sort of poignant indication as to where the government is going with these fellas. And he pointed out in the parliament, I think they felt that they could have squeezed through a needle eye, of course, but that is an impossibility. But they wanted to lose themselves within themselves. But go ahead.
But Mr. Lennox,
yes.
You see that big ice that had down Chagall Road? Yeah. That is evidence of the loss all of them in jail.
Of course. Yes, man, we have been saying that from time immemorial, and of course, that will come. The other point that I disagree with my friend a bit is that I started off by saying constructive criticism, and I thought Anizette's statement was one of a constructive nature. There is an observation, all with eyes to see will see, and therefore we cannot obfuscate or in any way put on blinders to see what he was saying. And of course, the fact that there was not enough, or put another way, because I don't want it to sound as though it is of course one that is acrid or one that generates any kind of animosity, but it was a fair observation, and that is of course the presence of labor representative on the various boards and so on and so forth. I think that was important. In terms of the preponderance of let's say ethnic representation or racial representation, I think it's fair. I think that, of course, the party that represents by and large a certain ethnic group in the society and they are in office, one expects that will be reflected not just in the parliament, where of course the seat of their power not just resides but has emerged, that you will see that reflected, of course, on boards, etc. So I have except, of course, in places where it has been traditional, and because, of course, the fit will not, of course, suit the ethnic preference or the ethnic preponderance of the party that, by and large, is in office. And again, of course, we have to look at the members of the coalition as well, and where they are located geographically, and what ethnic group that they generally represent. For example, me, I cannot, of course, claim that I could represent, let's say, a community in Caroni. And therefore, once you say Caroni, you know that we are talking about Indians. Let's not waste time. And if I'm from Laventille, then of course the ethnic group that and the racial composition there or here will be, of course, Africans. Of course, we have to find the balance, and I think that is what Anisette was speaking to. And anybody with a modicum of understanding where there will be preponderance as opposed to, of course, a greater balance, then of course we are on our way. But let me get to the, of course, the other area that I want to, of course, address as far as an observation as to the presentation or the lack thereof of the opposition in Parliament. You see, all of them appear to, of course, have this obsession with the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority. Let me repeat. They seem to have an obsession with the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, which this government says in no uncertain terms that they will, of course, not pursue. They also would have had an obsession with the property tax, which this government said that they will discontinue because it has been, I think it's over $100 million was already collected by that route. And I want to, of course, take another point that is connected to that. And that is somehow they seem to want to ascribe to the present government that they don't want to pursue the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority because their friends and family and finances don't want to be caught in the dragnet or the revenue collection mechanism that the THA would have implemented. Notice I say would have in terms of the TTRA, the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority. You see, it is asinine, it is dotish, it is foolish, it is nincompoopish, it is harebrained, it is, of course, totally as if these people are suffering from some kind of cognitive, intellectual, and, of course, a cerebral decline episode, all of them together. Imagine Brian, Penelope, Ibsbert, all of them are saying, but listen, the only source or the major source of revenue collection is, of course, the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority that they introduced that could have, of course, meet the budgetary, or should I say the financial requirements that, of course, the budget would have, of course, now of necessity have to be executed. The contents of the budget will have to be executed with money, of course, and they are saying that the government choose to shut down. Again, people, let us put things in perspective and do not be fooled by these nincompoops. First and foremost, let's deal with the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, and for the first time now I'll be saying, to be. It is to be. It was never existing. Whereas, of course, you could still say that, of course, the property tax was in its nascent stage of evolution. But certainly, the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority never existed. Never existed. Yet still they are saying that the only major, of course, institution that, of course, would have provided them with the resources that would have met the budgetary or the financial requirements that the budget would have that would of necessity consume is that of the Revenue Authority that never existed, that never was. Understand what is happening with these people now, man. They are totally insane. You know what I say? You heard them regaling. You heard them every 2 minutes that the Revenue Authority would have provided, as if people are stupid, as if we are damn asses, as if, of course, they see in us that which is in them. Well, let me tell them something. Let me tell all you something. You all are jackasses, super. Jackasses, super. How are you going to tell us that you might have prognosticate? Why you might have, of course, predicted that what will come out when it would have been implemented. The fact of the matter is that it never was. And let me tell all of this, just in case you have doubt about how stupid these people are, and in all practicality, and of course in all experience, because everything they say over the last 9 years that they were there, everything they say major turns to a pillar of salt, like of course Babylon. Yeah, pillar of salt. Always big talk, and it turns out to be nothing. And don't tell me you don't know what I'm talking about, you know. But just in case you're playing, you forget. Sandals was supposed to bring into Trinidad and Tobago $500 million to the coffers of this country every year. Let me repeat. Sandals was supposed to bring to Trinidad and Tobago's coffers $500 million every year. What has happened? Not a blasted cent. Not a cent. And that is not the first one. They told us that when they shut down Petrotrin and that they allowed, of course, Paria to be importing gasoline, and that therefore they recognize that the pressures that the people will have in terms of cost of living as it soars, they then tell you, listen, as prices rise and fall, demand, of course, and supply principles, that we will have, of course, a similar yo-yo, a similar up and down of prices as well. Well, when they put up the price, it never came down. Even though the price of gasoline reduced on the international market where they would have been purchasing it. And let's not waste time with these people. And more than that, the National Gas Company, of which of course they made very, very heavy weather about. You know, they didn't say at all that for the first time under the PNM, before of course the 28th of April, it bust. It didn't make a profit. And of course, the lies with respect, of course, to Cal, a Caribbean airline. Oh, it was making money, and it turned around. It turned out that it was, of course, a drain on the treasury, in fact. Let us not waste time with these people. They are in a state of perpetual cognitive, intellectual, and cerebral decline. It's clear they are all mentally deranged. How are you going to tell me about an institution that is yet to even be christened? It doesn't exist. For all intents and purposes, and of course, it ought not to have come up in the debate at all in terms of course, a potential source of income for what? For the government, this government. How could you be so crazy to be talking that level of hogwash and putrid? Pastor, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Pastor, good night. Pastor, good night. Welcome. Pastor, good night. Welcome. We lost that one. Yeah. How could you be so? Let's go again. Pastor, good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, good night, LENNOX.
Good night to you, my friend.
So the PNN having some kind of elections tomorrow?
Yes. I hope it marks their death knell.
Time more or less a bacchanal going on there, but I hope the people who they support them do like what they do for the general elections and stay away. Yeah,
well, I don't expect much people to support that. The 100,000 that stayed away from them and defected away from them, I expect that more than that will happen tomorrow. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, I hope they stay away because that party dead and buried.
Of course,
They have no head, they have no tail.
Yes, man.
One set of rhetoric.
Yeah, they are in a shambolic state. They are in implosion state, and they have now exploded. And of course, they will explode into, of course, the sphere of no return, meaning that dustbin of history for them.
Yes, dustbinology they're going into. Dustbinology, LENNOX. Have a good night.
All right. That's it. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. So once again, all of them, experienced parliamentarians who would have had experience of debating budgets over the last 9 years prior to, of course, the 28th of April, telling the population that a major source of income for Trinidad and Tobago that the present government have refused, of course, to focus upon. That is to say, they will not, of course, bring into reality, bring into existence the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority that never existed before. They intended, of course, to bring it into being, and yet still saying in a budget that has, of course, and is responsible for the augmenting or for the supplementing of the present budget, which of course they created, they announced, they act as though, or they talk as though it exists. I'm coming back just now because I'll show you what exists and where the money will come from. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Loud and clear, my friend.
Charge on this phone, so I hope I get the complete what I want to see.
I hope so. Go ahead.
Yeah. Why when I watch young people yesterday go to school and all that, like they're going crazy, grabbing, I could
But
bring
has
back
to be. How could we be talking about the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority that never exists, never was, never is?
And they are slate and thing for this internal election.
Boy, never see that. Go ahead.
You know that remind me of LENNOX?
Go ahead.
On Nelson Street.
Yeah.
I ain't calling nobody name.
Right.
In 1963, the man who had, I used to go to the fellow who had the business. I don't be silly.
The what?
You hear me good?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Repeat that for me.
They had a business place on Nelson Street.
Yes.
Me and the man used to do very good.
Right.
And when I go on there, I hear people calling for all kind of things. All the colors are lavender, red, green, blue. And quicksilver and confusion salt. So when I say what they're going to do with all that, they're going to walk over here. So the kind of confusion I see going on.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is.
Yes. The confusion salt and thing what they use. Like they coming back at them like a boomerang. If you go mad, boy.
Yes, I'm telling you, man. How the hell? And the serious, you know, talking serious. I say, but it doesn't exist. How could you be talking that kind of talk?
What are their faces in anguish like?
Yeah. But no, well, somebody said, like, for example, Dolly's face looking like a bacchanalis, a kind of Yeah. Well, no. Well, I'll tell you something. That kind of face resonates with the people in the ghetto. So they're trying to show that they are ghetto people. But of course, they are living nice. They are living nice and of course voluptuous off the state's coffers. Well, yes, I'm sure. Yeah, because the way how she, the body language, etc., looking like a typical. I don't want to use the term here. Yeah.
But here it is on the news tonight.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to bring in a big horse and emblem out.
Okay.
Michael and he said, you know, I know, Andy know, and Mikey, everybody, that is a PNM candidate. You know what he's telling them? Kamla should try and be army. Careful to be put it on state boards. What I have to do with it?
No, go ahead. I'm listening because I did address that from another angle earlier, so I'm listening to your
Well, I
angle.
didn't know why. I said, well, I know joining our in town.
Yes, go ahead. No problem. All right, go ahead.
Right? You could remember after the last day, when all the interview you on the go report,
Yes.
and it swear, like on our Bible, I tell my key, I go be there tomorrow. And he never come and all went into.
Oh yeah. Well, he seemed to be a person who wallows in confusion and what I consider to be he seemed to be indecisive, frankly. Even though he may sound well-meaning, right? So, but go ahead.
He's happy and empty dead. Watch me.
All right.
When he went, Caroni, I think I said that already.
Yes.
Caroni went up there with this one super farmer, what they call the boy, to talk to the workers in Caroni when they close the door.
Yes.
What is his name again? Oh God, the white man.
The white man.
Rahal.
Rahal. Okay, go ahead. Yes. Yeah, he was the minister of agriculture time. Yeah.
And all them, right?
Okay. Yes.
The next morning, when they ask you, they say, if he's supporting the Ghani workers, he say, me, I never say that like a little mama man.
Yeah. Yeah, the track record is clear. The track record is clear, true enough. But you know, you have to put things in context. And of course, at the moment where they would have changed their mind 360 degrees from what they would have said yesterday or day before. So you have to be very careful with these guys. That has been their track record. It has always been, of course, one that is convoluted. Yeah.
And he said it's a trickster in my book.
Yeah.
But when I hear that morning, tell them my keys with all the gods, I will be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And next day you will.
And you know, it has some people who are so destructive. And one or two of them, you know, I've had encounters on both this and of course the Grow report, where as soon as what they were asking for materialized or they were wishing for materialized fundamentally, they then turn against that very thing. So there are people like that, and you have to see them for who they are, what they are, and any one of us ought to have expected that kind of
but you know what I make them
reversal, that kind of reversal to our revulsion would of course materialize. Yes.
But you know what I make them out, I just call it like it is.
Yes. Well, you have a point, and you ought to.
I know all back, I should I go tell you, tell me the front.
Yeah.
Not you. Whoever you put in them tell me the front.
All right, partners. Yeah, let me go and see if I can play some of Saddam Hussein's statement with respect to people who got handsome rewards. Yes. Handsome brief. Yes, man. I hear you. All right.
What they gonna do? They can't do that until they free up Permission Act.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yes, okay. Yes, indeed. People, of course, I want to conclude with, of course, some of the statements made by Saddam Hussein. We'll have a chance to play tomorrow night. It's 3 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. I know that, of course, tonight has been an eye-opener for many of you who didn't see it in that context. But let me reiterate again. The opposition said that the main source of income that this government has, of course, done away with, has dislodged from the system, has discontinued in one instance, is that of the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority. But it never existed before. So how you could say that it was never tested to say, all right, now, the property tax was tested and it was doing fine. But there's another problem with that as well, people. Because you see, in the debate, Manning and they were talking about integrity. In fact, they were talking about Tankos, who made, of course, clearly what I consider to be of the cuff statement that if, of course, when they discontinue the property tax, people who would have paid already would have gotten, and they make a big scene out of that. In fact, this nincompoop, this charlatan of a legal mind, talking loud but saying nothing. I'm talking about the same Al-Rari. Talking treasonous and of course subversive talk. Yeah. This fella, with respect of course to property tax, all of that was designed to do what? To of course assist regional corporations. The property tax. There's a comment there too. But let me tell you what, two things you must observe. One is that the very PNM in 2015, when they were seeking to get into office, told us that they will never pursue property tax. You know what I say? They said they will never pursue property tax. And they have the audacity today, they are 13 in the 13th Parliament, and of course I understand in Playway 13 is a blight. But that blighted 13. Blighted 13. Never telling us that you should pursue that, when in fact they said that they will never pursue property tax back in 2015, and have the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery to talk about, of course, integrity, honesty, and who was disingenuous and are being kind here. How all your tales, but worse yet, they had the audacity to say that the Revenue Authority would have captured persons who were either financiers or the present government who prefer and rather, and therefore they will encourage them to escape. Well, let me tell you this. When Rowley was talking about the property tax and the fact that the PNM will never engage in property tax, back in 2015, he said something that we ought to take note of. And that is, not only did the UNC, if they got back into government in 2015, not pursue property tax, but they would have pursued, of course, land and building tax, something totally different. Of course, Imbert, if I talk to Imbert, he'll try to make one interchangeably, but nobody could be fooled by these fellas who, of course, have made a career in lying to the people and trying to make us fools, obnoxious as it is and insultive as they have been, and of course, condescending in the most atrocious of manner in terms of seeing us as fools, nincompoops. And so back then, he said that the UNC was prepared to go back to the what? Land and building taxes, but they will start with what? With people in industry first, people who doing business first. That is on record. That is on record. So I am making that point. I'm taking you back there to show you that it is irrelevant, it is nonsensical, it is asinine, and it is, of course, an attempt, of course, to hoodwink and to try, of course, to make people, that dead party, make people follow these bunch of what I consider to be walking political deads. You know what I say? I said that they are walking political dead. Yes. These mummies, these political mummies, political dead, is saying that, of course, the UNC is trying, of course, to protect their friends. But when they got the opportunity to, of course, talk about the UNC and its people-centered approach and tackling, of course, those who have first, when they wanted to bring back the land and building taxes, which I expect they will, they're tackling, of course, the business class first. So that argument is irrational, and it is otiose, has no sense, it makes no sense, and it is irrelevant. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, Lennox, good night.
Good night, my friend. Good night, my friend. Good night. Yes.
Hey, good night, everybody in the chat and everything.
Yes, man.
Hey, Lennox.
Hey.
Talk about Embot there.
Yes.
You remember he said that he doing no commercial building and no taxes for them for 25 years. He was put himself there.
You had to repeat that. I haven't heard you clearly.
No. Remember he said that commercial building for rental.
Yeah, commercial. Yes.
Remember he said that he was saying no taxes for 25
Yeah.
years.
Yes. Commercial family apartment buildings. Yes, both he and Rowley have invested in such projects. Yes. Yeah.
For them not to pay taxes. That's the whole purpose of that.
Yeah, Rowley's in Tobago and his, of course, is here in Woodbrook. Go ahead.
Right. Lennox.
Yes.
I cannot work, but they call my son-in-law back.
Yeah. Okay, you got some information? Additional. All right.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, don't talk about my son-in-law. They call him back in the army.
Okay.
In the army, he going back. He stand by.
Okay. Well do.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Thanks very much.
My son-in-law now. He going back in the army. That's what I'm saying. He going back. The police don't call him back.
Okay. Yeah. No problem. I will. I'm on standby.
No. Not that. Lennox, you don't understand. I said my son-in-law. They call him back in the army.
The army, right?
They
Okay.
deploy him.
Right.
They deploy him again.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What is going on right
Oh,
now.
so something is up trouble sleeves. That we're saying. Iraq.
Right, Iran.
Iran, and Israel.
They
Yes.
they call him back.
Okay, right. So that means something.
But he
Yeah,
has two
standby.
kids too, my boy, as well.
I hear you.
Anyway, my nephew ever call you about the thing I tell you about?
No one called.
Oh, yeah, tell him to leave him a message. You can't get in touch with him.
All right.
All right.
Okay,
All right,
thanks very much. Yes, thanks very much. Yes, people. Of course, it's 6 minutes past the hour, 10 o'clock, so we are almost completed. I don't think I should play that clip. It wouldn't do justice because I want to get it. So I'll start with it tomorrow night. But I want to leave you with this. Let us not be bamboozled. Let us not be hoodwinked. Let us not be gaslight. Let us not be regaled. Let us not be what I consider to be impressed with the stupidity of these people in the opposition in the parliament. Let us not. You must ask yourself the question again that they never wanted, of course, they said that they will not interfere with property tax. We have proved that we have proven that the UNC in care about no 1% and financiers and so on. They go in at them first. What they care about, of course, is the small man, and that is why they did not, of course, implement, if they had the opportunity so to do, the land and building taxes first with the small man, and of course putting pressure on their single salary pocket, as I explained earlier, in terms and opposed to the PNM, that of course will do that to poor people. They are simply evil and cannot change their spots like a leopard, nor their stripes like a tiger. Let's go to the lines. A pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yeah, good night once more again, Mr. Lennox.
Yes.
Mr. Lennox, listen now.
Yeah.
Quickly. I don't know if you're following the geopolitics, but I now see America bomb up Iran and they bust up 3 nuclear sites in Iran and Russia now threatening that he gonna jump in the war too. So how that is gonna affect Trinidad in terms of like oil and all kind of thing, boy?
Well, of course, the Strait of Hormuz certainly will be an issue where most of the energy supply of the world, that strait will be blocked because, of course, Iran has control of that, so that will be blocked, I'm sure, so that we will have some energy issues coming up the road. Of course, for some oil-producing countries, it will be a blessing, and for others, of course, it will be a curse. You know, there is always two sides of a story. So let's see how it
yeah, Mr. Lennox, keep your eye on that. That's something serious.
I certainly will, because before I came on, I was looking at the whole history of Iran, and of course the Ayatollah, the religious leader, and of course
Ayatollah
Khomeini, yes,
yeah.
and and the type of government that they have pursued. Of course, it is a theocracy. It's a theocracy, government by church, and and then of course we have a situation now where they have come full circle. They have exploited the people and so on, and they are looking at regime change, frankly, and that I believe that what Israel did would have been, of course, with the consent of the Americans. So if they are now directly engaged, it means, therefore, of course, you have a full-blown situation now in the Middle East. Yes. Go ahead.
Listen quickly now. Right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Iran literally obliterated Israel, you know, and Israel they want the independent media to show the world, right? Because I was watching some things about it. Israel in a mess, boy. You understand?
Yeah.
But Israel do a good work. Israel do a real good work.
Yeah. Yeah, but
the
but the drone and the David sling, it didn't work. You know, they have this.
Well,
that's
the next thing. Because I mean, although the bomb up Iran and thing, I see some missiles come down there and they will mash up the place in Israel, boy.
Yeah. It's a lot of them get through.
Yeah. But anyway, I go in Mr. Lennox.
All right, well, I'll certainly take a look at it, because it has implications, no doubt, for not just Trinidad and Tobago, but the rest of the world as well. So we have to keep our eyes on that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much, of course, for that piece of information.
All right,
if it just came out the oven, so to speak. All right, people, of course, we have reached the end. I trust that you are a bit more edified, particularly, of course, in places like Laventille, East Port of Spain, of course, Beetham, Sealets, and so on. Don't be fooled by these people. We have had enough of that. Enough is enough, and we have to, of course, chart a way forward. And if you have leaders that are prepared, of course, to go the distance, as I have, for example, nobody could fault me for, of course, abandoning the people. If at any time that I discontinued my engagement to an intensive or extensive degree, it's largely for you to see what the PNM gives. Now that you have come, now it has come full circle. There is no need for you to, of course, to rely on that bunch of albatrosses that are prepared, of course, to exploit your kindness and your loyalty, and then return it, of course, for pain, ache, agony, stress, strain, and of course all the negativities, borderline issues. Young people, of course, are totally disoriented and engage in activities that will detriment themselves, the community, the neighborhood, and of course the wider society. We have to find a way to let the international governments on whom we rely, both at the national level and at the community level, for employment opportunities and for investment. We must be able to show them that we are not what they think we are, and therefore the killing has to stop, the borderline issue has to stop, the gangsterism has to stop. And of course, I'm not saying stop automatically. I'm saying stop because there must be a replacement, and the replacement is, of course, education, employment opportunities, people feeling, of course, that they could live a good life, and the community camaraderie and the interpersonal relationships that people will develop quality, whether in school, whether, of course, on the football field, or in sports, as the case may be, or in the streets, or on the byways of these communities, and indeed, neighbor to neighbor. We have to, of course, focus there. All of us have a duty and responsibility. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow, but at 8 o'clock. Yes, tomorrow being, of course, Sunday. You know, I had to be conscious. Tomorrow being Sunday. Yesterday, of course, I thought yesterday was today, and I thought I had program because, of course, the day before, we had, in fact, not have a program. But, of course, that was the Labor Day holiday. So have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and see you, of course, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, when we again, of course, will continue these and other issues. Beautiful. Have a wonderful one. And, of course, as we started, we started with, of course, a piece of calypso, but I think we better end there too.
Is that you? Can't believe that is you. So long I see you. Give me a wine now. Give me a wine now. Give me the wine that I want. Long time. So long I see you. Give me a wine now. Give me a wine now. And I will make up for all this time. Make up for all this time. Hey, look who. You know how long we already see you. It could have been about a year or two. Call to drink now, what we go do? Hey, long time. Been a while we a bust a line. Nothing that changed, 'cause you still look fine. Look how you looking fine. I thought you hiding. I thought you went foreign. Look how things happen now. Look how things happen now. So let me hug up and squeeze you. I don't even want to leave you. I don't know when we'll bounce up again. So let me take a little thing until then. So long I see you. Give me a wine now. Give me a wine now. Give me the wine that I want. Long time. So long I see you. Give me a wine now. Give me a wine now. And I will make up for all this time. Make up for all this time. It was just last week when I called your name. I did ask your friend and them. When last did they talk to you? So long I ain't talked to you. Go funny, you're in my sight. Didn't know you was here tonight. It looked like you're doing alright, like money running real nice. I thought you hiding. I thought you went foreign. Look how things happen now. Look how things happen now. So let me hug up and squeeze you. I don't even want to leave you. I don't know when we'll bounce up again. So let me take a little thing until then. So long I see you. Give me a wine now. Give me a wine now. Give me the wine that I want. Long time. So long I see you. Give me a wine now. Give me a wine now. And I will make up for all this time. Make up for all this time. I got to see you, my friend, from long time. Let we just take a wine. I wanna hold on to